Hello and welcome. Today I will be presenting a mini module called Build Teams. Build Teams represents the second installment of 8 mini modules of the Leading Healthcare Improvement curriculum. This session will provide you with an introduction of how to begin engaging and assembling a group of team members who can help you implement your improvement project. This mini module is aimed to help you understand how effective teams function, how to identify team members for your interprofessional team, and how to define team member roles and responsibilities. Let's begin with revisiting the LHI model and where Build Teams fits within the overall process of implementing your project. As you may remember, these are the main topics we will discuss throughout the LHI course. Today we will continue with Build Teams. Many different aspects of your team may fluctuate and change throughout the course of your project. Knowing how to effectively build, maintain, and lead teams will set you up for success as you encounter these changes throughout the planning, implementation, and sustainability phases of your project. Let's start by talking about how an LHI tool can help us identify potential team members. As you can see in this section of the LHI template, building interprofessional teams can help you map out who is currently on your team, clarify team members' roles and responsibilities, and identify who may be missing from your team. Before building your interprofessional team, it is important to understand the difference between stakeholders, end users, and team members. Although stakeholders, end users, and team members are distinct groups, there is a lot of overlap among them. Stakeholders are people who have some investment in your project and care about or are affected by the outcome. Team members are actively involved in planning the implementation of your project, while end users represent the group of people whose daily workflow and operations will be affected by the change, or the patients it will ultimately impact. As you can see, there is often overlap across these groups. Sometimes, however, stakeholders are just stakeholders. For example, maybe someone in leadership isn't involved with your project, but they are still a stakeholder because they care about the outcomes of your project. Some team members are also end users, such as when a patient is on the team to give feedback from the end user's perspective. It's important to consider these roles when building your team. Now, let's discuss what effective teams look like. A group of people is a collection of individuals accomplishing individual tasks, but in teams, members' tasks and behaviors are interdependent, and they all share a common goal. Importantly, it's critical to have interprofessional teams so that there is a blend of skills and perspectives. Team science is the empirical study of how teams function. The LHI curriculum is rooted in the team science literature to help you use empirically supported strategies for building, maintaining, and leading teams that function effectively. Successful teams possess certain attitudes, behaviors, and cognitions that separate them from teams that perform poorly. Teams that flourish cultivate psychological safety, build teams strategically and intentionally, and define clear roles and responsibilities for team members. Let's talk first about psychological safety, the most important team dynamic. Psychological safety is the shared belief and feeling that team members can speak up and challenge ideas without interpersonal risk. This helps teams be more productive and creative. Having a few outspoken team members is not necessarily an indicator that you have psychological safety. Psychological safety occurs when your team members know they can express their thoughts and reactions without repercussion, and that their perspective is valued and important to the team. Every team member can contribute to making the team atmosphere psychologically safe and healthy. When we hear the term leader, a lot of us think about a person with a particular title. However, you don't need a title to cultivate and enact leadership skills. Throughout your career, you will likely fill a variety of roles and have a diverse range of responsibilities. Regardless, you can exhibit leadership skills that benefit others. We have provided some concrete examples here of how you may provide leadership for others, even when you're not the team lead. Next, we'll review what team science says about how to build teams strategically and intentionally. At the outset of your project, it is important to clearly define the team's goal and individuals' roles and responsibilities. When building a team, it's important to think about members' skills and abilities, not just talent. Let's talk more about how successful teams have a mix of skills that complement each other. Effective teams need an appropriate mix of members to bring their own unique knowledge, skills, and attitudes to get the job done. A team of extraordinary heart surgeons will not effectively operate on a patient without the anesthesiologists, scrub nurses, and other members who bring their own expertise and skills. You will want to intentionally seek out individuals for your team with complementary skills and abilities. For example, if influencing others is not one of your strengths, have someone with that skill on your team. Effective teams assign roles by aligning individuals' capabilities with role requirements. Let's discuss some concrete strategies for choosing team members. In general, effective team members share passion for the project, are respected members of your organization, are dependable, and contribute to psychological safety. Realistically, you may have to adjust your expectations for who you'd like to have on the team. If the person you want on your team is unavailable, ask them to recommend someone who has the same skill. Consider gaps the team may have in skills or abilities and identify people who can fill those needs. If there is an individual that you think would be an asset to your team but has limited time, identify a specific role the person can fill given their strengths. The key is to think creatively about how to assemble a team that capitalizes on team members' unique strengths and abilities. Once you have identified potential team members, you will have to work to engage them in your project. Building a team is a complex process, but here are some tips that can help. Before approaching potential team members, evaluate who to approach about a particular question or problem facing the project. Is your question more appropriate for a peer or a more senior person? Consider the potential team member's skills, not just their formal title or training. Additionally, sometimes a person's role makes it hard to approach them. Is there someone who knows the individual who may have some insight on how to get them on board? Consider if and how the potential team member may benefit from joining your team. Maybe your project solves one of their problems. For example, if nurses dislike taking vitals at night, you can get a lot of buy-in if your intervention inadvertently reduces this task at night. Remember that not all people you approach will agree to participate. If the potential team member declines your ask, be ready to ask them if there is some other way that they could contribute. As you engage with potential team members, remember that clear roles and responsibilities at the outset is critical for the success of the team. The number one killer of teamwork is unclear roles and responsibilities. Use the LHI Team Charter tool to establish roles and responsibilities. Being clear will create a shared mental model of roles that will help avoid any confusion about who is doing what and increases the efficiency of team tasks. Each team is unique and will work differently, so try and think about ways to optimize the function of your particular team. For example, some teams operate asynchronously and do not accomplish goals together in real time. To increase cohesion in asynchronous teams, you can use an online platform to help asynchronous collaboration where team members can interact and connect. When planning and setting up a team, initial decisions should help set the project up for long-term success. While you are selecting team members, think about the sustainability of your project. Who are the individuals that will be critical in embedding the intervention into the organization's culture? Who will have the time to dedicate to this project over time? You may find it helpful to periodically revisit your team charter to update any team members' roles and responsibilities throughout the implementation process and when transitioning to project sustainment, because there will likely be changes. Now, let's review some tips for leading a successful team. We talked earlier about how successful teams have individuals with a mix of capabilities, establish a clear understanding of members' roles and responsibilities, and foster psychological safety. Here are some practical tips for promoting psychological safety on your team. If you notice that certain members are not speaking up, actively solicit their feedback during and outside of meetings. Some conflict is normal and expected. Model for team members how to handle conflict with kindness and professionalism. Admitting when you make a mistake promotes psychological safety by showing others that it's okay to admit to making mistakes. Lastly, use the team charter and update it as the project evolves. Establishing norms and expectations and promoting psychological safety early in the process will reduce the likelihood of future problems and promote long-term sustainability. Today, we discussed how effective teams function, how to identify team members for your interprofessional team, and how to define team member roles and responsibilities. We hope that you have found this helpful. Thank you for taking the time to watch this mini module, and we look forward to seeing you soon.